Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I got a pretty interesting story to tell all of you. So I guess this segment is going to be on something that I experienced here recently, and it's pretty shocking, and yeah, and the public definitely deserves to know what's going on about this. So I've kind of taken it upon myself, since I was there physically, like in person. I just wouldn't feel right if I just sat quietly and didn't make people known as to what is going on. So, long story short, I have a good amount of mechanical automotive experience, and stuff like that. Been pretty much working on cars since high school, and I'm 28 now, so I've been working on cars for quite a minute, right? And out of curiosity, one day, I saw that there was a Tuffy automotive near me in Grove City, Ohio, that was actually hiring for service technicians, and it kind of piqued my curiosity for a second. And I said, why not? I guess just, let's see how it goes, what it's like, Never actually worked like in an actual service shop for a company or anything. I've always ever done everything, at my house, or I've always traveled to the customers' houses or helped people that were like broken down, like on the side of the road, like emergency, like roadside assistance, changing tires, fixing stuff, random miscellaneous mechanical issues, right? And I pretty much thought, it could be worth a shot. You know what I mean? So I walk in and I said, hey, I'm interested in your service technician position that you guys have. And he handed me an application. So that particular location, the Tuffy Tire in Grove City, and it should be the only Tuffy in Grove City, so it's pretty easy to find. It's like the only one. That location still does paper applications, nothing online, which is interesting. So I take the application, I go out to my car, I fill everything out, I walk back into the store, and I hand it over back to the manager or the head guy, whoever that would have been that day. And I leave, right? About a day or so goes by. I get a phone call to come in and do a in-person interview with the actual store manager. So I show up, I sit down with the guy, we do a face-to-face interview, we talk a little bit back and forth, just random automotive-related stuff and questions. And he said, to stay by my phone, that I might be getting a call from them soon or something like that. So I leave, another day or so goes by, and I get the phone call. So I don't know if any other automotive shop is like this. I'm not entirely sure. But they called me and they said, hey, interview went well. You seem to be pretty knowledgeable and really seem to know what you're doing as far as your skill level and stuff like that. We would be interested in running a trial run with you in our shop to kind of like see how you do. So pretty much, they wanted me to come into the shop and work for like around 2 to 3 hours and kind of just like shadow me or like observe me and kind of like see how I'm doing, how I, what my skill levels are, how I actually perform out in the field, yada yada. I said, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds cool. Fine with me, right? Okay, so I get off the phone, and then that day comes, right? And I head over to the Tuffy in Grove City, and I have all my tools, all my toolboxes, and all my equipment, and I head inside with everything, and everything's going fine so far. And they bring me back into the bays, into the actual shop area. They introduce me to this other technician. I'm not gonna name specific names, but they introduced me to this technician who's gonna be working with me, shadowing me. We talk a little bit back and forth, yada yada yada. And then we get started. First car that we had come in was a Kia Soul that needed back brakes, calipers, and rotors. So pads, calipers, and rotors on the rear of this Kia Soul. Okay, so I assisted the other technician. He went to the left side rear and started working on that, and I went to the right side rear and I started working on my side. Slid the new rotor, attached the new caliper bracket, disconnected the brake hose line from the old caliper, reconnect it to the new caliper, put my pads on, greased the, put in my shims, added the grease on the bottoms and tops of the shims so that the pad can slide smoothly, yada, 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 made sure everything was tightened down. Then started putting the wheels back on. Wheels went back on. They start lowering the car back on the ground. Everything's going fine. And they go to start the Kia Soul, and the belt starts making an extremely loud screeching noise. Very loud, very noticeable. So they pop the hood, and they go looking at this belt. So what it ended up being was the belt was an older... I didn't know this about the Kia Souls. You know how like most newer modern cars, on the serpentine on the pulley system, you'll have like an automatic tensioner pulley, that'll just, it's spring loaded, and it will just apply pressure to the belt and keep everything tight on its own. The Kia Souls are not like that. I did not know that. The Kia Souls, I think he either loosened the alternator or the power steering pump. I'm not exactly sure. And all he did was loosen the bolts to the pulley, pull it, tighten it up a little bit, retighten the bolts, and the screeching went away. The belt went back to normal. The belt was just loose. It just needed readjusted. This is where things take a turn for the worse, where the red flags start coming in. So the belt goes back to normal. They said, not to me, to the other technician, the manager came out and said to the other technician, go ahead and charge him for a new belt. So technician walks out into the lobby area with the seating area where like they keep like the computer and everything, like the waiting room, I guess. And he starts talking to the customer, telling him, hey, we got on your pads, we got on your rotors, your new calipers, your brakes are good to go. Your belt was bad. We went ahead and we put on a new serpentine belt for you. And they charged this kid an extra $40 for a serpentine belt that they never even installed on the car. That is stealing. That is complete theft. If you are charging people money, people are paying you, and you are you're charging people for parts that you're not actually putting on their cars. That is theft. Completely theft. So the kid actually pays it. Now, right then and there, I wanted to say something and kind of stop the kid at the doorway or something and tell him, hey, they didn't put a belt on your car. But, I don't know. It didn't seem like the right place at the right time. I don't know. So the kid gets in his car and drives off and leaves. And then we bring in another car. It's like a burgundy, like a reddish burgundy Chevy Malibu or Chevy Impala, like a 2000s-ish model. They bring in this car, goes up on the lift. The car's supposed to be getting an oil change. So the car's up on the lift in the air. This is where stuff gets completely berserk. This guy is supposed to be bringing in this Chevy for an oil change and filter. Pretty simple, pretty easy, right? The car's up in the air. The technician walks up to the drain bolt on the oil pan, puts his ratchet on it, and just like starts free spinning. He's not actually taking the bolt out or loosening the bolt. He has it in, lefty loosey, righty tighty. He put it in the opposite direction to where it just does the clicking noise and just click, 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 acting like he's making noise. Then takes the ratchet off the bolt. The bolt never came off. The bolt never even opened. No oil came out of this car. And then he goes up to the oil filter underneath the car, and he just puts his hand on the oil filter and just does this. That's it. He doesn't take the oil filter off or anything. Then they literally bring the car back down and say it's done. They proceed to walk out to the lobby and charge this guy for an oil change and oil filter when they never did an oil change or an oil filter. The drain bolt never came out. They didn't take any oil out of the car. They didn't take any filters off or nothing, guys. The hood on this car never got popped. This hood remained closed the entire time. They literally drove this car up, put it up in the air on the lift, just BS'd and pretended to do stuff for a couple minutes, right? Then just brought the car back down on the ground and went and told the customer that his car was done. And this guy ends up paying like $60 almost for an oil change that was never performed. So you already got the freaking belt. They sold this guy a servicing belt that they never installed. They charged this other guy for an oil change that they never did. And then the manager comes out and he's kind of like talking to us and stuff. And I was very surprised that he would have started telling someone brand new what he told me that day. He literally gathered me with the other technician and was like, just a reminder, guys, if someone pulls into the parking lot outside and they look like they have a really nice car, he's like, we're looking specifically for BMWs, Acuras, Lexuses, Mercedes-Benz, any higher end, nicer, wealthier looking car. He's like, if any of the customers pull up with any of those nicer, higher end cars, try to charge them as much as you possibly can get away with. That's literally what this guy said. He said if these guys are pulling up and they're driving nicer cars, to just BS charge them for pretty much nothing. Just literally stealing these people's money for the most part, right? And same thing, they said, and if they get out of the car and they're walking up into the waiting room, if they look like they're wearing nicer clothes, maybe if they're wearing suits, if they have jewelry, nice watches, things like that, things that show that they have money or that they're wealthier, to definitely try to charge them more, tell them that more things are broken on their cars, even if they're not. You know, the list goes on with this guy. And I'm like, this is literally a scam operation. This is a scam shop. They're literally getting free money. They're literally just getting free money from doing nothing. They didn't do the kid's belt. They charged it for a brand new belt. They're charging for oil changes that they're not performing. And if you come in with a nicer, expensive car and you're dressed nicely with a nice attire, they're going to target you specifically and charge you an arm and a leg more for just random stuff that you don't even need. And they probably won't even put it on the car from what it's looking like, okay? And it was just, that's how those 3 hours literally played out. The whole time I was there, that's how the rest of my day went with this shop. And I was just completely dumbfounded and just really taken by surprise, completely off guard, that this shop was actually operating this way. I mean, you hear about this stuff on TV, like on the news. Like, they send in undercover news reporters, you know, undercover into these automotive shops, and they hide all these hidden cameras to try to catch these shops ripping people off. And you see it on TV and the news, you know what I mean, like all the time, right? But you would never actually think that you would end up at one of those. You would think that that's like a rare occurrence or something, right? And as soon as all that started happening, I was like, oh my God, this is way more common than they make it out to be on TV. And that was just from what I encountered my first day. Within my first 3 hours with this company. Could you imagine? How long have they been doing this? How many years have they been ripping people off? And to me, it's not even worth it. So we started, after the 3 hours were over with, they started talking about a pay rate, like an hourly pay rate for me. And the things that they said during this conversation were so absurd, and I just almost wanted to just walk out then and there from the things that this guy said. So first off, he's telling me that their master, their head mechanic that has been there for 6+ years at this location is only making $15 an hour. That's the head technician, that's the head master mechanic, is only making $15 an hour as a master tech with 6 years at that particular location. And they told me they were trying to start me off at only $12 an hour is what they wanted to pay me. I didn't really say anything. I didn't really say yes. I didn't really say no. I just kind of like nodded and agreed, yada, yada, yada. Went home and was like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'm working for this company. The pay is complete garbage, first off. And you guys aren't even like a real shop. You're a scam shop that's robbing customers. So I kind of just like brushed it off. Don't think anything of it. And then the most freaking hilarious thing happens to me. Literally 2 days later, after all of this crazy stuff just happened, I get a phone call from Tuffy from Tuffy, from that shop, saying, "Hey, so I guess the manager, the store manager that was discussing the pay rate with me, I guess after I had left, within those 2 days that went by, he had talked to the actual store owners, the actual owner of that store, and apparently now they only wanted to pay me $10 an hour. So they literally dropped my hourly pay. They were going to pay me $12, which was already laughable, and that dropped down to only $10 an hour to be a mechanic. And I wanted to just hang up and just laugh so freaking hard at that. I don't know. Anyway, I get off the phone and I'm just thinking to myself, what a freaking joke. $10 an hour is what they're offering me for a mechanic job. I can literally, and I think this is what I'm going to do right now, I can literally go to Meijer's grocery store and stock shelves for $15 an hour. Why the hell am I going to do a mechanic job for 10? There's people at McDonald's that are making $16 to $17 an hour, sometimes more. Okay? What a laughable situation. What the hell is going on with Tuffy? Just completely unreal. But so a little, public service announcement. If you are currently or have been taking your car to Tuffy Automotive in Grove City, Ohio, I highly recommend you stop that. Obviously, immediately, from what I just told you in this video, they're stealing from you. Okay, I saw it myself. Don't go there. Go to a different shop. Okay, do yourself a favor. Don't let yourselves get robbed and ripped off by these people. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. So I know it's like a 20-minute video, but I had to fit all of what I experienced with these guys in this video, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave out anything as much as possible. So, what a wild freaking experience. I still am shocked by this. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to jump off here and just avoid this place, please, okay? I'm going to jump off, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. And be very careful where you guys send your cars to get worked at, because it's not always what it seems. Because I even thought that Tuffy seemed like a legitimate, honest company, and it could just be that location. That location could just be the bad apple of the batch. They're not necessarily probably all like that. Some of them might actually be honest and truthful companies. But for some reason, that particular location is just a bad apple, and just don't go there. Unless something happens and they get new management or a new owner or something, I would just stay away for the time being. You know what I mean? There's so many other shops in the Grove City area that it's just not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Sorry guys, that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to jump off here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.